2005. It was kind of rediscovered in Panama. And I'm going to check on some stuff real quick because I'm getting some notifications that the stream is not working right. So give me a second. I'm blabbering away here. All right. I apologize for that. I'm a newbie to the live stream world. So hopefully we're somewhat close to live right now.
Ask me where you left off in your talk.
Yeah, Sean, maybe you want to put a little message in there when we catch up here and let me know where we're at. You can see me now. That's fantastic. Can you do this for me? Go on that computer in the back and just catch up to the live stream, see where we are.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties, I apologize for that. But where we are, I just did brew my coffee that I'm cupping here. Yep. And then our channel. Might want to keep the volume down a little bit. I was blathering on about geishas. But now we've finished at least the first part of our cupping here. I apologize, I'm probably a little bit ahead of everybody else. You can see me now. All right, so we got to let this cool for a little bit. Now that I have completely lost where we are, but I'm going to let this coffee cool for a little bit before I actually taste it. Hopefully you guys are brewing up some fantastic coffee as well. When I was talking about geishas and where they came from, it's an Ethiopian varietal, the geisha is, and as far as where it comes from, it was originally in Ethiopia and then migrated over to Costa Rica and kind of got lost in the shuffle of a lot of first wave coffees and stuff that wasn't as popular, and totally missed the beginning part of it. All right, fair enough, Sean. Basically, all we did is we talked a little bit. I brewed the coffee. I started the coffee brewing. I'm not going to taste it yet because it's still too hot. But we were covering a little bit about where geisha comes from, and I was talking about geisha as it applies to the other high-priced coffees on market today. What I did in my size cup here is I measured out 12 grams of coffee. In my cupping bowl here, 12 grams of coffee, and then I'll give you an exact amount of water to put with that. Usually it's about a 17-to-1 ratio. Yeah, so 12 grams of coffee and 150 grams of water would be a great place to start, or whatever ratio you can come up with along that line. If you're using a smaller, like a 5-ounce rocks glass, like this one here, what I would probably start out with is about 8 grams of coffee in a smaller rocks glass. If you're going to be tasting it, you're going to be doing a regular coffee mug like this. Then you probably want to brew with about 18 grams because that's going to be a lot bigger, okay, of coffee. And then just measure out. As far as scoops, scoops are always difficult because it's way too difficult to judge what size your scoop is. So what I would do is, if you're doing scoops, estimate that your scoop might be like 7 or 8 grams per scoop if it's level. So if I were doing this cup, I would do 1 scoop of coffee. If I'm doing a cup somewhere along what I've got for my cupping bowls, I would do 1.5 scoops. And if I'm doing this, I'm going to do 2 scoops. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that we might be able to deal with on that. But then what I'm doing is I ground it at about 18 on my Barazza Virtuoso grinder. If you have an Encore or something like that, it should be about the same. Basically, that grind setting is a little bit finer than what I would normally use for a drip coffee pot. So whatever the middle of your grinder is, grind it a little bit finer than that, you should be good to go. Okay over there? So then I ground the coffee. I poured the water over the coffee in my cupping bowl, and then I set the timer on my phone for 4 minutes to let it brew while I was blathering on for 4 minutes about Geisha coffees and why they're so awesome. But yeah, Geisha coffees have been, like, you watch World Barista competitions, brewing competitions, stuff like that. It seems like a lot of them are using geishas a lot of them are using geishas in their competitions because the coffees they just taste so good. As far as high-priced coffees goes, geishas are definitely on the list of being worthwhile. But a couple of them, so they migrated in the 1950s. They brought it over from Ethiopia. It ended up in Costa Rica for a little while. And then it kind of disappeared in around 2005 or so. It was kind of rediscovered. Geisha was rediscovered in Panama. And there are a couple of farms in Panama that grow geisha that command very, very high prices for them. And that's an interesting thing because you got to ask yourself if paying $600 a pound green, yes, I said that right, $600 a pound for green coffee, if that's really worth it. I'll tell you this, it's not a flavor thing. It's a business thing. They're doing it at that level for business reasons. So my coffee has been brewing here for a little bit. We went through already. I apologize if we missed it, but we did break the crust on the top. So as you're cupping it, a little crust formed. And we've been basically talking a little bit now, waiting for this coffee to cool. So we're going to get into actually tasting the coffee. Slurp. So what you want to do is just take a little bit in whatever spoon you got and give it a good slurp.
Don't worry if your slurp is not like his. Wow.
Yeah. I tell you what, with this water and this setup right now, this geisha is out of control, bright and acidic. It's very fruity and lemony. You're probably not enjoying this. It's not one of your favorites.
No, this is good. This is good. It has
I know you like the more rounded,
earthy. I tend to
brighty.
be more earthy, but this has got a really good balance. It's not strong. It's not strong in the bright notes.
Yep. I'm definitely getting some lemon notes in there and getting some raspberry. It is not what you would expect out of coffee. I'm not getting like what some people would get out of a typical Ethiopian coffee, is they get a lot of blueberries, sweet raspberries, stuff like that, strawberry. I'm not getting that kind of berry. Getting a little bit of, I did say raspberry, I'm getting a little bit of that. But very bright, especially brewed this way, which is going to kind of accentuate. I think when we're cupping stuff, between using the third wave water and the whole process that we're going through of cupping things, you tend to get it accentuates the brightness of it a lot.
But it's a soft bright. It's not a harsh. It's not a.
Not a harsh like lemon. Not like you're sucking on a lemon.
Right.
It still has a nice sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why these coffees are. Yeah, we also talked a little bit about Jesus Javier, who in Veracruz, Mexico, who has got this coffee for us. He's a farmer, been doing this for several generations. His father got land about 30 years ago, and they've been doing a lot of different things. But they decided to get into coffee, and he's done some fantastic work. A lot of conventional coffee, what we would call commodity grade or lower grade coffees, but has gotten into some of the specialty, growing some of the specialty stuff recently that's really fantastic. So Caravella Coffee brought that to us. There are importers for this coffee. But as far as geishas go, they're always really bright and fruity like this. Fantastic flavor. Nice body. Nice. It's not real thick like our Honduras coffee. If you taste our Honduras coffee, it's like, or even our Sumatra, it's like rich and thick and almost syrupy. This one is not that way. It's a little bit more floral. A little bit more floral. It's not even a little bit. It's a lot more floral. But really bright and interesting. I would really enjoy this in an AeroPress. I'm thinking so much that I would enjoy this in an AeroPress that I'm thinking right now.
You need to make it an
I'm going to
AeroPress.
brew one in an AeroPress just to see what it's like. It's really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these aside for a little bit and let them cool. I might come back to that and taste that. I'm going to get my AeroPress out. All right. It's been a little bit since I've used my AeroPress. But it'll be good to get back to this. Apparently I was demonstrating something and left a filter in the bottom of my AeroPress. Okay.
Another gifted item this year.
Yeah, a lot of AeroPresses went out the door this year. Anybody get an AeroPress for this? So I'm not going to be real specific about measuring this. This is the spoon that came with my AeroPress, and I'm just going to go with what they recommend, which is 2 scoops. I'm not even going to weigh it, because I don't always weigh stuff. So I've got my coffee. Actually, I'm not going to make it any yet. You might make it this way. It'll be easier. I do, not according to the directions with the AeroPress, but I do tend to keep my water at about 200 degrees when I'm brewing on my AeroPress. Fill that up to 4. I'm excited about this one. The Geisha and the AeroPress. Good stir. Make sure it's all getting. Let that sit for about 30 seconds or so before we press down on this and brew.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, that's sitting. We're going to go back and taste the Geisha again. Yeah.
You get a little bit more of the sweetness on the cooling.
Yeah, it's not quite like when it was hot. It was
Soft
almost harsh acidity in there. It wasn't harsh, but
No.
it was definitely more.
It was
pronounced.
brighter, but it was not. No, this is definitely you get more of the sweetness after. I don't know if I'm tasting vanilla because I've used so much vanilla in baking this week that I'm just overdone on the whole.
It's affected you. Now, if I taste it, I'm gonna get.
Yeah, now I've suggested it, so you're gonna hear it.
Oh wow. So yeah, out of the AeroPress, definitely a little different than the cupping, and it's still a little hot, so I'm still getting that lemony taste to it, but has an amazing sweetness, some raspberry notes, like raspberry lemonade. It's just really good stuff. So that's our Geisha. Gonna leave this up on YouTube for a while for those who did not get up early the day after Christmas just to taste coffee. And I want to thank my wife, Krista, for being here and getting on there. Just broke the crust. Okay. Come on down, baby. You got a little more time.
Keep drinking. You can make another one while we're waiting.
I'll make another AeroPress.
Or we could do a quick.
Do a V60?
Yeah.
Do a V60. Do a V60 of the, this one I am going to measure. I've got it. So on my V60s, I like to do 18 grams. I haven't dialed in this recipe yet, but I'm doing 18 grams. Of coffee. And I'm going to dial this down a little, couple clicks coarser than what I had before. What's the smell like after that? After you broke the crust there, have you gotten anything good going on? Let's see if this is any different. I'm going to pour with my old kettle that I haven't used in a very very long time because I've been spoiled.
With the we could pour it into the other one.
Had the fellow kettle at home. No, it's all right. Just like riding a bike. Got my fellow Stag EKG at home. It's a beautiful kettle. Pours so nice. This one here, I had at home for a lot of years. Made a lot of great coffee with this.
Just gives you a little bit of a workout in the morning.
That's right.
It's so heavy. Doing that spin technique.
Yeah, the Row spin. The Row spin or a Hoffman spin, I don't know.
Taste the vanilla plus one again before I taste the other one.
Tell you what, this third wave water makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
It's just so bright compared to when I don't use that. Just kind of mutes it a little bit.
This is definitely a nice sweet brightness. It's
Yeah.
not harsh at all. It's just straightforward and pleasant. Which is why I tend to go for the more earthy notes, because I just want a good cup of coffee in the morning without having to decipher what I'm drinking.
Yep.
And this would be just a perfect wake me up morning coffee that isn't. It's not too much going on.
Try that first.
It needs to cool a little bit.
It's still kind of hot.
Yeah. Which might take a while in the Yeti.
Get this one.
I will never be able to slurp like that. Without coughing.
Years of development. Slurp development. I practice it on a regular basis. Still really
Yeah.
hot. But they're very similar between the three different brewing methods that we've got out here right now. But nice and sweet.
Wow. You know it's a really good coffee when it's cold and it's still good.
Yeah, right?
That's one that you can drink and accidentally set down. It's so
So on the acidity on this one, it's like we've said, a bright lemony acidity
but soft.
that we got, but it's not. Sometimes on some coffees that I've tasted, you get a harsher acidity, and when it cools, it turns into a bitterness. And a lot of times, that kind of off flavor, that's not a good acidity like brightness. That's an off flavor that a lot of times, not always, but sometimes comes from underdevelopment in the roast process, where basically the very inner parts of the bean didn't get roasted completely. You get a really bright, almost harsh lemony note that goes away and tastes more bitter as it cools. But if you get something that's like this one, even when it's cool, you still get that same nice, almost a sweet lemonade flavor coming out of this.
Yeah, I like what you said, the raspberry lemonade. It's
Yep.
yeah.
I could do this all day. So. Well, that's I don't want to rush anybody, but I'm running out of stuff to talk about.
Does anybody have anyone
So
to share?
there was we were talking a little bit about geishas and how they're high priced. If you search around, you'll see a couple of instances where some Panamanian geishas sold for like $600 a pound. And it's interesting, those are not necessarily people that are buying coffee because it legitimately tastes that good. It's more like they're making an investment in the farm that they got it from. It's more of a business and a marketing transaction than it is an actual so good than it is because of the quality of the cup. So, and I think that probably happens a lot of times in wine and other things too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we found that in bourbon too.
Yeah, bourbon does the same thing. You get a lot of overpriced bourbons that are not really worth it. Same thing happens in coffee. It's all over the world. So,
but this is very tasty.
yes, it is delightful. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We've got some more of this coffee that we'll be sending out to some of our subscribers, and other people will be getting it, our refill subscribers, this month. We do have a very limited amount, so I'm not sure it's going to be on the shelves out here. But if you would like some, you can let us know. Appreciate you guys being with us, and I hope you have a fantastic day and keep serving some amazing coffee that people love. This video will be up on our YouTube channel for the foreseeable future. So if you wanted to go back and taste it again on another day, maybe with some other people, you can